Good morning, YouTube. We are back in routine. Thank God. I feel like the last few weeks I have just been fighting against the current with all the events we had. So wedding, festival, last vlog was obviously in Rome, and while that was a very fun few weeks, I'm just looking forward to a couple of weeks of uninterrupted routine, because yeah, I kind of felt like the last few weeks I was just about getting up to being in a good rhythm before the next event would come around, and I was starting from scratch again. And with, you know, a month left in this gaining phase, just not quite good enough if I really want to be making as much progress as I can before I get on stage pretty much this time next year. So it is Monday. We are just out for our morning steps. Here's Emma. Say hello.
Hi.
So we're just out for our morning steps. Emma has actually started a diet this week. She's you happy?
Yeah, I'm fat.
Yeah, she's not too happy with
No, I am fat. Well, I'm not fat, but I started diet because I got sick, and then I couldn't eat, so it's like, well, fuck it.
Yeah, the last clip you saw in the Rome video was me eating the pizza in the airport because I couldn't go into Rome and get myself a nice pizza because Emma was feeling very unwell. Not a great way to start your 30th year, and she was sick for like, what, 2 or 3 days or something like that, which is unfortunate, but look, it is what it is. But yeah, I have 4 more weeks left in this gaining phase, and then I'm into my pre-prep diet. Like, I do have a little bit of travel coming up. We're going back home for the WMBF Ireland show, which is on the 6th of September. I'm going to be DJing as well, which is going to be quite fun. It's going to be
DJ story set. Make sure you're fucking
pecs on the decks. It's going to be an interesting DJ set because it's not necessarily going to be a typical one. I can't play all the music that I like to play. Like, I can't necessarily fit the vibe of people posing on stage with acid techno, but you know, we'll have to play to the crowd. Plenty of probably like heavy metal. Emma just lets him run ragged.
He likes the water. He likes a little splash.
Yeah, well,
He's
you know.
hot. He's gonna dry, like he's a fucking short-haired dog.
Okay. The state of our couch would have something else to say.
That was you, actually. That was actually Shane. Fucking gets himself filthy and then lies on the couch.
Says you're one. And then the week after WMBF, I've got a couple of clients competing in powerlifting down at the Phenom September Open. So yeah, it's gonna be an eventful 2 weekends at home and then back here. And again, like a week like that, it's not really gonna throw me off routine at all. Like, you know, training's still gonna be locked in, the likes of the nutrition still gonna be the same. It's really only when I have events that revolve around alcohol do I really get knocked off track. But no alcohol now until Halloween at the very earliest, and then probably be Christmas, and then pretty much after Christmas we won't have any more alcohol until, God, I might even have one event between Christmas to start prep. So yeah, in for a generational lock-in. But today's Monday, upper body day. Already got some check-ins done, so we'll bring you through the training session when I get to the gym, and yeah, we'll go through some more updates, a bit more education on the training side of things, and yeah, stick around. Alright, so we just arrived at the gym, and today is going to be upper body. Now, this session has not changed a lot in the last number of weeks or months, but every week of training I've had since probably June has not been up to the standard that I like. And I talked about this at the very start of the video. I've had a lot of events on, and it's kind of taken away from my ability to stack sessions on top of one another, like stack progressive sessions on top of one another. Across the month of July, I had an event on like nearly every weekend, and that just meant when I was coming into the gym, I was training at like 70% capacity. I'd get back up towards 100%, and then the next event would kind of roll around, right? And what I was also doing alongside this is when I would go to the gym, I was still trying to hang on to the numbers that I had when I was at peak strength. Now, when this happens, inevitably, your technique just starts to suffer, right? You're just focusing more so on beating the logbook, retaining the numbers that are in the logbook, moving away from A to B. But what suffers is like what you get from the session, right? Like how effective that volume they're using truly is. And I was just getting to the point where like, yeah, it's moving the weights, but I was feeling more fatigued, like overall, than I was feeling like fatigue within the actual muscle itself. So right now I'm having a little bit of a reset where I'm saying, okay, we need to drop the load a little bit. We have to accept that my strength is not quite where it was at peak levels of strength. But if I have a little bit of a reset right now, I take a step back, it's allowing me to take a step forward in the future. And I don't even need to take that much of a step back. I'm talking like taking a 5% reduction in some of the loads that I'm using within the gym, just so I can get better connection with the actual muscle that I'm using. I can ensure my technique is solid, which gives me now a couple more weeks to build upon that. And for me, what really helps here is just creating like a fresh sheet on my spreadsheet, like a fresh training sheet, versus like comparing it to what I did last week, the week before, because I'm always going to have that mindset of I need to beat or match what I did the previous week. So I'll be doing this. I have a clean slate now, and now the goal when I come into this session is, can I connect to the muscle? Is my technique breaking down much? If any, where is it breaking down? Is it breaking down like midway through the set? Is it breaking down at the end of the set? Is the target muscle the thing that is fried at the end of the set, or is something else? And this is just allowing me to ensure that the training quality is up to the standard that it needs to be, so I get the most out of the volume that I'm using. And I think we all go through this, right? We all go through these phases of needing to have a little bit of reset, because it's impractical to think that we can just continue to build and build and build and build forever and just continually get stronger without ever having one of these resets. And you'll know that you need to do this when you're maybe going through your training program, you get up to like this big milestone weight, and while you're moving it, you have no control, you have no ownership. You wouldn't be able to stop that rep within any portion of the repetition if you were asked to. You wouldn't be able to control it within end ranges. You feel after you finish the set that you just feel more fucked than feel like that target muscle has been trained. And you might also be getting a little bit of kind of joint soreness around those exercises which you have been pushing a little bit harder from the low perspective. All these are signs that you just need to improve on the training quality before you decide to push on further. So if you're going to get to that point, I'd recommend have a little bit of reset. You know, if you take a bit of a hit now, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be taking a hit, right? It just means that you're just accepting a period of reduced training loading, which again doesn't really matter, for greater loading in the future. So it's prioritizing longevity at the end of the day, and that is ultimately going to prioritize your gains. So anyway, I have sat in here for 4 minutes and rambled. Let's get into the gym. Two exercises in, and this is what the tank top is looking like. So hopefully you can hear me here because the music is extremely loud. That is dumbbell laterals done, and I'm trying something new with doing my dumbbells. So I'm doing my straight sets first, and then I'm going into a new type of intensity method. I'm just trialing. So typically after my straight sets, I'll do something like a drop set or a rest pause set. Whereas now what I'm doing is I'm doing some bottom mount partials down into a drop set. And this is something I just want to play around with, because like with the likes of a dumbbell lateral, like typically people are going to be able to handle a lot more volume doing them, because they are only hard for a portion of the range of motion, right? Through like the first half of the range of motion, there's not a huge amount going on. You can typically move a lot of load there, which is why I'm doing some heavier partials in that position, right? I'm using weight that there's no way I can get from here to here with, right? So I'm experimenting with seeing, okay, what's like the maximum load I can do like a bottom end partial with, and see if there is some stimulus that I could be gleaming from there before I go into some full reps with a lighter load. And again, this is something I just want to play around with, because after a certain period of time of doing one intensity method, you just get a little bit bored, and it's not something I'm actually trying to, you know, apply like progressive overload to it. Like if I end up going up a load on that particular intensifier, I will, but I'm really just trying to focus on the progressive elements within the actual straight sets, if that makes sense. So yeah, just adding a little bit of fun into my delt training, especially an exercise and a movement and a muscle group which I can typically tolerate a decent amount of volume with before I go into my heavier compound work. And it doesn't take away anything from my heavier compound work. If you're doing something like an intensifier and it does take away from your compound work or the exercise after, you need to think about the placement of that particular intensifier within the session and maybe move it towards the back end of the session. I think it's important that if you are ever making training program changes, that they are tweaks versus overhauls, right? Now, one principle that I apply within my own coaching and what I apply within myself is when I'm making a change to a program, or a program needs adjusting, I'll adjust 20% of the program, but leave the 80% that is likely still working, that's likely still being enjoyed, that's likely still progressing. The big mistake that a lot of people make is when they are getting bored of a training program, they change the entirety of it. Quite often, all you need is a tweak. You need to have that one exercise that you're no longer enjoying, no longer connecting with, no longer progressing. You need to change the movement that is causing you some pain, causing you some discomfort, causing you some like lack of enjoyment or some anxiety coming into the training session. They're the things that you need to tweak, because it's very likely that the rest of the program is going pretty solidly, but it's just a couple of exercises, a couple of bad apples that are actually taken away from your enjoyment of the process, or potentially the things that are just not helping you move the needle forward. So this is what I do. Every 8 to 10 weeks, I'll have a reset of my program and say, okay, what am I really liking and what is just not really kind of hitting the mark anymore. The things that are not really hitting the mark, I ask myself, okay, is it just something that I can improve on from a exercise technique side of things? Is it maybe even an attitude thing that I just need to fucking get on with it? But if it's something that's just generally not working, I'm not clicking with it, or I'm just like getting really bored of it and as a result not putting effort in, that's the thing I'll change. So that could be an intensity technique, that could be an arm exercise, it could be an exercise for a muscle group that I trialed in the previous block and it didn't actually kind of pay out the way I wanted to. And they're the things I'll tweak. Because again, if you change too much all at the one time, you're never really gonna know what's working. But as well, you'll always end up in the cycle of just changing programs so often that you never really know if you're making progress at all, or if you're just stimulating yourself from a novelty perspective. And we don't grow from inducing novelty. We grow from progressing a specific stimulus over time. So keep that in mind. If you're really looking to build a lot of muscle, it's not about keeping yourself entertained all the time. It's keeping yourself somewhat entertained, but ensuring that progress is ticking along all the while. Because we can keep yourself entertained till the cows come home and keep on making these tweaks to make training somewhat interesting. But if it's taken away from our ability to actually kind of assess how we're progressing, then you know it's just going to exercise the futility. Into the business end of today's training session. So we're finishing off with arms. We have an easy bar, tricep press down. We have incline curls. We have a preacher curl, and we have a single arm tricep extension. So one thing that is really, really important when it does come to training arms is quality, quality, quality. I see far too many lads in here every fucking week, and you know, even see when I'm reviewing clients' videos, way too much swinging, not enough connection, using loads that are far too big for the person using them, right? And what's just really happening here is we're just stroking our egos. Like ultimately at the end of the day, nobody is going to come up to you on the beach and say, how much do you curl? They'll just see how big your arms are, right? So it's something that I have like purposely tried to like regress the loads on pretty much all my arm movements, specifically biceps, because they're the ones which you can really get carried away with. And part of the reason is because the progression is slow, right? Like we can't expect to be adding on kilos and kilos and kilos of load every single week or even every month when it does come to a bicep curl or a tricep kickback or a dumbbell lat raise. The likelihood is you're going to be sticking at a similar load for probably weeks on end before you even see like maybe a rep progression. So it's really important that you just focus on quality, making sure that each rep looks the exact same. The only difference is with those final 3 reps, they're starting to slow down as they get closer to failure. And when you are ready to get the extra rep, when you're ready to add the extra load, you will know because the weight you're using is just too easy. So that's something to keep in mind if you're somebody who's walking around and your arms are kind of small, but you're using some of the biggest dumbbells, right? You're curling more than the guy with the bigger arms who's beside you. So yeah, keep that in mind. Back from the gym, did a little bit of food shop, but battery was very low, so I didn't record anything while I was actually in the shops. So post-workout meal is 125 grams of rice. We got some green beans, carrots, beef, chili oil, almond butter, and some honey. and soy sauce. It's nearly 7 p.m. I got back from the gym very late. Anytime I record these videos and talk in the gym, it just takes longer. Yeah. Even though I don't like go on my phone or anything like that, don't do anything to distract myself, it just takes longer. But so yeah, hopefully you appreciate the effort I'm putting in to give you some value, entertainment, or whatever you get from watching these videos. I tell you what, I am excited for summer to be finished. June and July are pretty much the exact same temperature as it is right now, but August, and this has been a trend, it seems like August every year is just really, really humid, and it just means that you're just sweating all the time, you know. Like, we have the air conditioning on in the house pretty much 24/7, and it's ramping up the electricity bill, to say the least. Our electricity bill, like last month, was like 500 quid or something like that, which is across 2 months, which is quite high, right? But it has to be done because, you know, the moment we walk out of our bedroom in the morning and I walk into my office, it's like I'm almost in a sauna. And then, you know, you go outside and you're going for walks, you're sweating. Like, I'm sweating here, you can see it on my face. And then in the gym, like, you saw my fucking tank top. Like, I was training legs on Sunday, and I brought 2 t-shirts to change into. One that was drenched midway through the training session, so I changed into the next one in the second half of the training session. So yeah, I'm just very, very excited for this month to finish up and for it to be a little bit cooler, because yeah, well, I feel bad for Emma because she's doing a hell of a lot of laundry. She fulfills her role well, to be fair. Now, as much as, you know, the humidity and everything here can be a bit of a ball ache, you know, if that is the biggest concern I have when I live here, it's not that much of an issue, you know. I think anywhere you're going to live around the world, you're always going to have like pros and cons which you give towards that particular area. Like, you know, having lived in Canada, you know, it was nice, but super expensive. The price of everything was just insane. The country is like just extremely big, so, you know, going for like nice walks and stuff like that is it's not feasible, especially in the area that we were in. But like, to get anywhere, like, you definitely need to drive, and just the vastness of the place kind of made for that, right? Like, if you want to go to like the next town over, you'd be driving an hour or so, and then, even if anybody has been to Toronto, you know what the traffic can be like on that main highway. I think it's called the 405. It's fucking like insane. It's one of the worst traffics I've ever been in, next to LA traffic. Now, obviously here, you know, you have your high season where there's a lot more tourists because it is a holiday destination, and some places have prices increase around those particular months. Particularly like the Toll, you'll go to certain restaurants that'll have hiked up prices. You know, places can just be busier in general. Traffic can get pretty bad during the summer. But, you know, for everything else, cheap cost of living over here, you know, ample availability to, like, you know, rent places. Again, as I said, like, it's super cheap for the supermarkets. The gyms are amazing, and, you know, particularly where we are, like, we live right beside the beach, so, you know, it's not necessarily too bad of a trade-off. And look, I also kind of recognize my privilege and my ability to, you know, move kind of where I want once I have a visa and a valid passport. So, being an EU citizen, of course, you can pretty much travel and pick up residence in most countries on the continent, which is pretty damn sound. But, you know, it's not as if I'm in any particularly unique situation. I work for myself, that's probably the main thing. So if you're somebody who does work for yourself, you are an entrepreneur, you are somebody who is on a coach, who work in an online space, you work remotely, like, if you're sick of living in Ireland, or you're sick of living where you are, like, set up shop somewhere else. There is a decent upfront cost, of course, when you kind of change locations initially, but for the long-term payoff, that's worth it. And as well, you get to see if there is somewhere that you prefer more than your current location. You get to see if the grass is actually greener, because I think for a lot of people, they do kind of find that, you know, they might end up like reverting back to their original place, but you could always kind of land on that like golden nugget, that place where you're just like, yeah, fuck it, this is where I want to be for the rest of the time. And you know, having lived in obviously Ireland for a while, like most of my life, I lived in Dublin, and then lived in Canada. You know, did the summer living in the States. Can't really call it living there, can you? J1, fucking living in squalor, and then living in Alicante. Like I've went to university here in Spain. I just love Spain. You know, obviously I haven't been to fucking everywhere in the planet, but I think I just like this. I like the vibe of the Spanish people. Everybody's very sound. I can speak a bit of the language. The physical culture is very popular as well. Food is nice, cheap. Again, plenty of reasons. Plenty of reasons to choose here. Okay, final meal is nothing exciting. We're gonna have a protein shake with some almond milk. So just 50 grams of whey. And this is even made more vanilla by actually using some vanilla whey. Because I just couldn't be arsed with the creamies right now, you know that? I've gotten to the point of not being terribly fussed by food. Which is, you know, it just is what it is. It's just something that happens for me towards the end of the gaining phase. I just become just ambivalent to what I'm eating, you know. It's grand. But when it comes to like the end of the day, you know, I just want to have something quick and easy. As much as I do enjoy the creamies, I'm not enjoying it as much as I was. So, you know, I'm not going to force it. So, protein shake, can have some Weetabix with some honey, some nuts, and actually have a biscuit crunched up into that. So I'll show you that in a second. All right, so we have our Weetabix here. I feel like this is actually only 3 biscuits. I need 4. Oh, it's only 3 biscuits. I've done it. Okay. How did I miss that? I was in the shop and all. Okay, so just gonna add in some of these, which are calorie equivalent. I'm just going to add in what is remaining. So that is, yeah, up to 80 grams of cereal. Again, not going to lose any sleep about the potential tiny bit of inaccuracy there. 20 grams of cereal is never going to send anybody backwards, especially since it's going to be calorie equivalent. I'll have my honey. So I'm having 25 grams of this. We're going to throw in some walnuts for some extra fats to bring up the values for today. 15 grams. And 2 Biscoff biscuits. And a final thing, I'm going to add some milk. So that's pretty much today's video all wrapped up. This camera is on 1%, so I'm just going to quickly sign off. Hope you did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like the video, comment if you have any questions, any suggestions for future videos, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll catch you in the next one. Good luck.